So Season 3 just got delayed for both Black Ops 6 and Warzone, meaning that we won't be getting any new content across both for 2 weeks beyond when Season 2 was supposed to end. Now, for Warzone, this is pretty much where most of the concern is, because this delay affects when Verdansk is going to be re-released, and for Activision right now, Verdansk is basically what they're hoping is going to revive Warzone and bring back a lot of lost players. There's going to be a lot of returning elements from Modern Warfare 2019 supposedly, as well as a lot of returning operators, features, weapons, and more. However, a lot of people are concerned by this recent delay because what does this actually spell for Warzone, and how will this impact the game into the future with later Call of Duty releases? Now, I'll get back to that topic in a second, but what I want to cover for today's video is more related to Modern Warfare 4, which is Call of Duty 2026. I know that we're still in 2025 and we still have a whole other Call of Duty to go through before Modern Warfare 4, but there have been some leaks about Modern Warfare 4 that I personally thought were really interesting, and I have a lot of thoughts surrounding them as well. So the first leak that we got for Modern Warfare 4 is that it will not be releasing on the older generation of consoles. So Modern Warfare 4 is officially going to be the first Call of Duty title to release on what are technically our current generation, so the Xbox Series X/S and the PlayStation 5. Call of Duty 2025, which everyone's just kind of calling Black Ops 7, is going to release on the older generation of consoles, but it's basically going to be the last one to do so. I know that the reaction surrounding this has been both positive and negative. On the one hand, the older gen is definitely holding back the capabilities that a game like Call of Duty could reach. Now, yeah, a huge chunk of the players on console are still on the older gen, but I do think that eventually the video game industry just kind of needs to move on from the older hardware, and I know that this generation of consoles has sort of been a weird one. A lot of games were still releasing on the older generation, and we haven't really had the feeling of a true next-gen console since they really released. I own both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and I find that this generation has been a little bit disappointing in terms of trying to push the boundaries on the hardware that we have. I've already even heard the companies talking about the next generation of consoles, and it literally feels like we just started this generation. But anyways, I do think that Call of Duty could have done so much more had it not been held back by older generational hardware. However, it's apparently being developed on dev kits for the next generation of Xbox consoles, which to me is a bit interesting because we haven't even had a Call of Duty release only on the Series X yet, but now they're discussing the next console, not even Call of Duty 2025, is going to skip the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So it's just weird to me to hear that already. I have heard that the next generation isn't going to be here for a while, but now I'm wondering what this leak means for the current gen of consoles. There have been some articles stating that maybe the next generation is going to come sooner than we think. Some say around 2027, 2028. The Ghost of Hope over on Twitter claimed that some of his sources say that the next Xbox is going to be a full-on new generation console, and that Modern Warfare 4 will be a day one release on it as well, which is definitely interesting to hear. So if we take that into account, we may be seeing a completely new generation of consoles before 2026 ends. What do you guys think of this leak, and do you think you'd get a new console, or would you stick to what you have and wait it out? Also, apparently the reason why Warzone couldn't launch with so many maps was because of the old generation console issue, or at least this is what some leaks claim, and I'm thinking that it also might be a reason why Verdansk is lagging behind in being released, because ensuring that Warzone runs smoothly on the older generation of hardware is probably going to be the biggest hurdle and challenge. I mean, we saw how some graphically advanced games performed on the older generation like Cyberpunk 2077, and eventually Cyberpunk had to totally ditch older gen hardware, and the DLC Phantom Liberty didn't come out for the older generation. So it's clear that trying to keep the parity between the generations isn't the best thing for games that are kind of trying to push limits. And Call of Duty is definitely a really graphically advanced FPS, so you can tell that in some way it's being held back by something, but at the same time they would definitely be losing a lot of players who still haven't upgraded to the next gen of consoles yet. Now, another thing that we might be seeing is the UI return to a more traditional spot than what we've gotten so far lately. Apparently, the UI is going to be even more traditional than Black Ops 6, so I'm guessing we're going to be getting something more in line with the older Call of Duty games, possibly even games like the original Modern Warfare trilogy and things like that. I personally would love to see the older UI return because what I've noticed lately is that the UI in the more recent games has just been a little bit difficult to deal with. Modern Warfare 2, for instance, I thought was really bad with this and the UI was just awful. Black Ops 6 has been a better experience than Modern Warfare 2, but still, there are some problems with navigation and things like that that I'm sure a lot of people want to see fixed in the next iterations of Call of Duty. Now, for the engine, it's apparently being overhauled to fix issues like visual clutter and whatever other problems were existent in Modern Warfare 2, which sounds good, but we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to be implemented. So the biggest piece of news definitely has to be the fact that we may not really be seeing a supported Warzone anymore in the future, but there are exceptions to this. So basically, Verdansk is releasing with Season 3. This is something that we've known for a while now, and we know that Activision is trying to go all in on Verdansk. And I think that this is going well beyond just releasing the map, but it looks like they're trying to sort of appeal to the lost player base and bring back people with similar features, operators, the map itself, of course, and more. Now, a lot of people are saying that, well, Verdansk is not going to be the only thing that can save Warzone, that a lot of players aren't going to be coming back. But at the end of the day, we do know that they did take Season 2 off for Warzone so they could overhaul a lot of systems in the game. They've also added this delay to extend the time for Season 3, so now only time is going to tell how this is all going to pan out, but it definitely seems like Activision is hoping that whatever changes they make now are going to really change things for Warzone and revive the mode, at least in some capacity. However, if Verdansk fails to retain current players or bring back really any older players, it seems like Activision is preparing for a Plan B situation where there may be no Warzone 3. So as we know, when Modern Warfare 2 came out, they released a Warzone 2. So with Modern Warfare 4, it looks like there would have been a Warzone 3. So it's possible that if things don't go the way Activision is hoping, we may be seeing Warzone sort of fade out into irrelevance. This would definitely be a pretty wild thing to see because Activision has poured a lot of money into Warzone. There have been so many streamers and YouTubers that have come up out of Warzone, and overall, Warzone offered a free-to-play Call of Duty experience for a lot of people, which is something that I think is unique in and of itself. However, obviously, you can't keep pouring money into something that's not making the returns that you want. Now, a lot of people do think that if Warzone dies or something like that, then Activision would just reinvest that money or reallocate that team into multiplayer and that more devs would be added to the multiplayer, zombies, things like that. But logically, in this scenario, that is not what is going to be happening at all. Rather, the majority of the developers that have been working on Warzone would be laid off. No extra money is going to be taken from Warzone and put into other things beyond what's required to deliver the product. As a company, Activision will basically just lay off people and save that money in order to increase their profits. It's the only logical thing for a corporation like this to do. Now, if we do get a Warzone 3, it's also not clear if this is going to have a similar system to what happened between Warzone 1 and Warzone 2, where basically you kind of lost all your stuff from Warzone 1, Warzone 2 started over fresh and everything. It's not really clear if that's what would be happening with Warzone 3 or what they're going to do about that, because I do know a lot of people were kind of annoyed about how all of the operators and all of the things that they had in Warzone 1 just didn't port over to Warzone 2, but anyways, that's something that we'll have to wait and see about in the future. Either way though, I personally don't think Warzone is going to be going away, and I genuinely believe that Verdansk is going to be bringing back a lot of players and will probably do fine in the long run, and that Warzone will likely see some big numbers again. The reason I say this is that often we think that when we discuss things online in our communities that everyone else out there is going to automatically be in agreement with us. It's why you sort of see echo chambers or accounts where one person says something like, Call of Duty is dead, and everyone in the comments basically kind of agrees with that person, but go outside that video, watch a video maybe where the person is claiming that Call of Duty is doing really well, it's not dying, you're gonna find that the comments are more often going to be agreeing with that person as well. So the thing is, echo chambers, confirmation bias, these things just sort of happen when you're in online communities. Even if you have a thread on Reddit, for instance, where like 1,000 people think Warzone is going to fail despite Verdansk, the reality is that 1,000 is not even a substantial fraction of the true population that plays Warzone or has played Warzone. Also, we can't really deny that nostalgia is not a big deal because nostalgia is a big tactic that a lot of video games, movies, any really entertainment product in general, nostalgia is used all the time, and nostalgia is very much enough to bring back lots of people to a game. I'm thinking that Warzone is going to be fine and a lot more people are going to come back than you might be thinking. A lot of people might at least come to try it and see what's going on. Oh hey, Verdansk is back, let me see what happened with Warzone. Relive some old memories, things like that. I doubt Warzone is truly finished. The Ghost of Hope said that basically the idea of no Warzone 3 is more like a worst case scenario than a reality. So personally, I don't think Warzone is finished, at least not for the next few years. Though it would be strange to see Call of Duty without Warzone, I feel like we've gotten so used to the Warzone system that it would just feel off in some way to not have it integrated with Call of Duty anymore. Also, the stories have been connected through both Zombies and Warzone. It would just be really different, let's put it at that. Now, has Warzone's integration into multiplayer caused issues? You could definitely claim that, and I do believe that Warzone should be its own standalone game. This is something that I personally think would have been better because the integration between the two has sort of created this weird system where if you want to innovate in the multiplayer, you're going to have to innovate in Warzone and change things for players that have gotten used to a system. So one thing I saw a lot of Warzone only players complaining about was that they didn't really want to deal with Omni movement in Warzone, that they preferred the movement system for Modern Warfare 2019. Meanwhile, a lot of people that are multiplayer only people really like Omni movement and really like these sorts of things because the way movement works in both, there's a strategy for each. They're not really the same sort of gameplay strategy. So I do think that had Warzone been a separate game in its entirety, it would have been a significantly better thing. You wouldn't have had to keep this parity up between the two modes, things like that. You wouldn't have had to sort of link everything to Warzone. To me, I feel like on paper, the integration sounds really good, but in real life, in the application of that integration, it wasn't the best system. Anyways though, it's definitely been an interesting week for Call of Duty news, but thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all the latest content. Share this video and comment below your thoughts on this news and how you feel about the leaks, and that's all for today, folks.